Welcome to MogulCast, where we uncover the stories behind the world's greatest business empires. Let's get into today's story.
May 18th, 1998. A packed federal courtroom in Washington, D.C. The U.S. government has just accused Microsoft of being a monopoly, one that crushed competitors, stifled innovation, and locked millions of users into its software. The trial could break the company. Bill Gates, the 29-year-old dropout who built this empire, is about to face the fight of his life. This is the full story, and it is worse than you think. 1955. Seattle, Washington. A young Bill Gates is born into a world where computers are room-sized machines reserved for governments and corporations. By age 13, he's writing code. By 17, he's making $20,000 a year selling software. But in 1975, he drops out of Harvard, not because he's failing, but because he sees the future. And it's not in classrooms. It's in a tiny garage in Albuquerque, where he and his friend Paul Allen are about to build something no one else believes in. That something is Microsoft. But in 1975, the idea of personal computers is laughable. IBM, the giant of the industry, doesn't even see the threat. Gates and Allen licensed their first operating system, MS-DOS, to IBM in 1980. It's a masterstroke, or a fatal mistake, because one clause in that contract will give Microsoft control over the entire industry. We will come back to that decision. It is the key to everything. By 1985, Microsoft is growing faster than anyone predicted. Windows 1 launches, but it's clunky, buggy, and no one cares. Yet Gates is relentless. He pours millions into development, betting everything on a vision. Every desk, every home, running Microsoft software. Competitors like Apple and IBM scoff, until they realize Gates isn't selling software. He's selling an ecosystem, and he's about to lock it down. 1990. Windows 3 launches, and suddenly, Microsoft is everywhere. But not everyone is celebrating. Competitors like Netscape and Sun Microsystems are watching as Microsoft bundles its software with every PC, making it nearly impossible for rivals to compete. The U.S. government takes notice. By 1998, the Department of Justice files an antitrust lawsuit. The charge? Microsoft is a monopoly, and it's about to face its biggest test yet. Here's what the media completely got wrong about this. Microsoft didn't win by building the best product. They won by controlling the platform. Every PC manufacturer had to pre-install Windows. Every software developer had to write for Windows. And every user had no choice but to buy into the ecosystem. It was a strategy so effective, it became the blueprint for every tech giant that followed. But it also made Microsoft a target. On 1998, the antitrust trial begins. Gates is grilled for hours on videotape, his evasive answers becoming a symbol of Microsoft's arrogance. The government argues that Microsoft used its power to crush competitors like Netscape, whose browser threatened Windows' dominance. The trial drags on for years, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If Microsoft loses, it could be broken up, and the empire Gates built could collapse overnight. 2000. The verdict is in. Microsoft is found guilty of being a monopoly. The judge orders the company to be split into two. Gates is furious. The stock plummets. Employees fear for their jobs. But then, a twist. In 21, a new administration takes over in Washington. The breakup order is overturned. Microsoft escapes with a slap on the wrist. But the damage is done. The company is wounded, its reputation tarnished. And a new threat is emerging, one that could finally dethrone the king. That threat is the internet. Microsoft was late to the game, and companies like Google and Apple are rising fast. Windows is no longer the only way to access the web. The world is changing, and Microsoft is struggling to keep up. By 2006, Gates steps down as CEO, handing the reins to Steve Ballmer. The company is at a crossroads. It can either adapt or fade into irrelevance. And for the first time in its history, Microsoft looks vulnerable. 2014. Satya Nadella takes over as CEO. Microsoft is no longer the dominant force it once was, but it's still a giant. Nadella makes a bold move. He embraces open-source software, partners with former rivals, and shifts the company's focus to cloud computing. It's a gamble, but it pays off. By 2020, Microsoft's cloud business, Azure, is growing faster than Amazon's. And if you've made it this far, you already understand something most analysts completely missed. Microsoft didn't survive by being the best. It survived by being the most adaptable. Today, Microsoft is worth over $3 trillion. Windows still powers over 70% of desktops worldwide, and the company's cloud business generates over $100 billion a year. But its legacy isn't just in the numbers. It's in the way it shaped the tech industry. Every time you open a laptop, every time you use an app, you're interacting with Microsoft's ecosystem. And it all started with that one decision in 1980. The decision to license MS-DOS to IBM while keeping the rights to sell it to anyone else. Remember that decision we mentioned at the start? Here's what it actually cost. IBM, the company that could have dominated the PC industry, became a footnote. Competitors like Apple and Google had to fight for every inch of market share. And users? They were locked into a world where Microsoft controlled the rules. The irony. Gates didn't set out to build a monopoly. He just saw an opportunity and took it. And half a century later, we're still living with the consequences. By the numbers, Microsoft's market cap exceeds $3 trillion. Windows holds over 70% of the desktop OS market. The company employs over 220,000 people worldwide. Its cloud business, Azure, generates over $100 billion annually. And Bill Gates, the dropout who started it all, is one of the richest men on the planet, with a net worth of over $150 billion. But the most staggering number, Microsoft's dominance has lasted for over 50 years and shows no signs of slowing down. Here's the lesson no one expected. Microsoft didn't win because it was first. It won because it was relentless. It didn't just build a product. It built an ecosystem. And when that ecosystem was threatened, it adapted. The company that once crushed competitors now partners with them. The monopoly that was almost broken now thrives in a world of open competition. The real secret to Microsoft's success. It never stopped evolving. And that's why, 50 years later, it's still on top. If you want to understand how this pattern repeats across every major business empire, the next video covers a story with disturbing parallels. A company that, like Microsoft, started with a single idea and ended up reshaping an entire industry. That one is next.
That's the story for today on MogulCast. If you found this valuable, subscribe and hit the bell. A new empire story drops every single weekday. See you tomorrow.